I love you. The evening of June 5th, 2013, I stood by the window in the front of my house, on the phone, talking to my dad, and I said, I love you, before we disconnected. My dad and we used to talk all the time, probably 3 times a week at minimum, when I moved to Texas from Maine back in 2006. 2013 was pretty crazy. About a month prior to that phone call, I had just become a father and he had just become a grandfather. It was a super interesting chapter in our life because we were in this place now where it wasn't just him and I as father and son, but we were starting to get to know each other as men. I love my calls with Dad. Like, they were always hilarious. I mean, he would rant about the cable company trying to rip him off, how his newspaper wasn't being delivered on time, to some store not accepting his coupon, but some of my favorite conversations were on music. That man knew everything about music, and I mean everything. And there were sometimes the rarest occasions where I'd be able to pull one over him and teach him something new. But it was super rare, and I would celebrate those moments. I don't even know if he was maybe just letting me win every now and then, but I doubt it. But one of the things that I remember, though, is for the longest time in my 20s, I always told myself this lie that I don't have enough time, for things outside of my work. And that even meant, like, when he would come to visit me, from Maine in Texas, that my vacation time was sometimes I'd still be working. I'd still be hustling away for my career, to make the extra money, to feel important, maybe to even try and impress him. Like, I had all these stories in my head, and so there were so many times where I could have been more present with him, and I chose not to. I chose my work. After a really challenging, birth with my son, we were really blessed that, both him and my wife ended up coming out healthy. It was awesome to have my dad there, with my family, and to share that moment with him of kind of like a passing of the torch. It felt like it was such a magical moment. And then things really took off. I mean, shortly after that, my wife's grandmother passed away in Maine, and there I was, June 5th. And in that moment, things are kind of moving really quickly. And I hear something in my dad's voice that just sounds a little different that night. I don't know what it was, but something told me to just be really, really present. And we had a great conversation like we always do. It was really funny. I remember I laughed. And we ended the call with, like we always do, I love you. June 6th. Around, I think it was around 7:30 in the morning, I get the phone call from my stepmother. It says, Dad stopped breathing. And just like that, he was gone. It's been 5 years now, and I miss him every single day. And music has always been the common thread that's kept us connected even since his passing. Our love for the Beatles especially. He taught me so much that before my son was born, when I set up his room, I put a quote above his bed, above his crib, and it was from Golden Slumbers. Golden slumbers fill your eyes, smiles awake you when you rise. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing you a lullaby. I love that song, and I also love how that song was part of 3 songs. Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and The End. Those 3 songs blended together to end the Abbey Road album, which was technically supposed to be the last Beatles album. It was to signify the end of the Beatles and their story. those 3 songs I used to play at the church during Dad's funeral. My big message is a couple of things. One, when he passed, I was comforted with this. Nothing was left unsaid. We knew how we felt about each other because we said it. We said, I love you. We hugged. We got to know each other. And I also got to thank him for all the superhero stuff he did when I was growing up. He was a rock star in my life. Even in a divorced family, he was still a rock star in my life. I was blessed with a great mom and dad. And my big message there is definitely, again, leaving nothing unsaid. Because now I just miss him like crazy. The other thing, too, though, is don't buy into the lie that you don't have time for the important things in your life. You do have time. You just chose not to create it. Learning to create time for your values. Because not a second goes by where I wish I had been more present with him during the times where I could have been and chose not to create that time for whatever silly reason I had in my head. So today's message is just a little bit different. I'm doing this series on fear-based logic, and we're kind of starting things off different because it's starting on a very unique day for me. And I guess really the last message I have to share is, if you got somebody special in your life, tell them you love them. You just never know. So what are you holding back from? Tell your friends, tell your family members how much you care about them. And create the time for the things in your life that really, really matter. Learn to say no to things so you can say yes when it really counts. I know you're out there, Pop, so I love you. And I love all of you, too, for listening and being a part of this journey with me. Thank you so much. And live with that courageous heart. Thanks.